Good morning, everybody. It's Brandon Doherty, Delaware Weather Guy, and I'm here today I'm here to discuss and go over Friday's events because that was like the weather event for the week. I mean, gosh knows we haven't had much to talk about in that regard. So, it was slightly exciting in that way to have a very tense event occur, and of course, it's not a joke. It's not funny at all when there's damage, but fortunately, it's just damage to personal stuff and not people. So let's go over what I want to do is just want to clarify some points about straight line winds, okay? Because I think when you say straight line winds, people just I don't know what people think, but I think they're thinking winds that go straight, and that's kind of like it, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more involved, but at least it'll clarify some things. And then when we get into the spring and summer months, when I say be careful because there could be straight lines today or something of that sort, and you see it on radar, then we can all be aware of it. Okay, so straight line wind gusts or storms of wind gusts at least 58 miles per hour. They can exceed 80 miles per hour, and some storms even have 100 mile per hour gust. So in that way, they can mimic like an EF2 or 3 tornado, but because of the debris field, depending on what the debris field looks like, straight lines have less of a debris field and more of like very specific damage, like it happened only right there at that spot. Okay, so this is the type of minor damage that it can occur, and this is just for the example. So if you see down trees and they're all going in the same direction, that's symptomatic of straight line winds. If you see trees that are down, that are spread out around the place, that's symptomatic of possible tornadic episode. So straight line winds can act like, but not are not like tornadoes. Okay, um, they don't have the construct, the structure of a tornado. It's just winds. It's just, if you think of like pumping up, a balloon, and you have the balloon on the nozzle, and you're pumping it and pumping it and pumping it, and the air gets so big, and then you go, poof, you just push that air down, push that balloon down, and all the air goes right out of it and just goes out. That's pretty much what you see here with these lines, these winds just going straight out. They sometimes call them microburst, and they're sort of this. If they say microburst, probably it was straight line wind damage as opposed to a tornado. So, I have two images here. Let me move me to here. Which one is which one is straight line winds? Which one is or tornado? The one on let's see. I'll give you time. And it's the one on the left. Okay. Um, the right here we see a debris field, and it's just spread out, and also there's total annihilation here. I mean, this whatever this was, it's no more. So it completely wrecked it. Here we have obviously some something that was strewn through the air and hit this tree and came down. Unfortunately, didn't. But you see around the tree and you see around the house, there's no other damage. The cars aren't damaged. Even this thing here, it looks like a little signpost. not damaged. So that's pretty much an indication that this damage or this debris was caused by straight lines. Okay, for our event the other day, we had multiple wind damage reports. Okay, and I just checked it, and it was just filled. We had over 116 wind reports, over 121 overall. We had 5 tornado reports, and just one was confirmed. Okay, because sometimes even if you see a funnel cloud and it looks like it's coming down, but it doesn't reach the ground, technically it can't. That's not confirmed tornado. I mean, it took the shape, it was coming down, and then just dissipated. Wind shear is its enemy, so that's it. It runs into um, some dry shearing environment and kind of shreds the storm, shreds the tornado. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit more complicated because it's a little bit harder to view. But this was the sounding from Friday morning. Okay, now there's really nothing here that would have given at least myself an indication of a severe event. The only thing that I could think of that was here, there were two things: the shearing, the wind knots high above were measuring about 128 knots. It's pretty ramming. Then if you take this is called a haltograph, and what this shows you is the vertical wind shear. Okay, now when you see something like this, where you have like a curvature of the line here, and then you see sort of a counterclockwise um, swirl here of air. All right, that's not good. That's that's kind of a favorable environment. But this was a cold air evection look, so that meant the cold air was was pressing down on the storm. So the storm motion was going in a sort of a southwest to west direction, and so it was indicating very strong cells, but you can't really. The only thing that would have been very obvious with this is if you saw something curving, or you saw like a curve here, like a loop, and then it goes back up with height. The winds increase with height. So that would have been an indication to at least professional meteorologists and myself that there could be some tornadic action here. Sorry, that just fell. So I have to say there was really nothing convincing here that I would have assumed to be a possible tornadic event or a very strong cell. What I would have been curious here is it looked like maybe just a strong wind event of some kind. I think that's it. Um, so that's pretty much my presentation on that. Again, here's a look at the wind reports all over the state. Okay, here's the tornadic episode. Oh, of course, it doesn't work when. And this was um, an EF1 tornado briefly touched down near the Elk Mills Quarry in Cecil County. Now, if we go out in time here into Maryland, there were some other reports here in Westminster, here in Germantown, Frederick, of this. There was tornado confirmed and significant tree damage. So this was an EF1. Um, no tornado confirmed there. Trees down. So at least in Maryland, in the Western Maryland, there were some tornadic episodes. So Maryland had some issues, but they have elevation. So elevation does factor into that a little bit. Okay. And these are all the storm reports. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of crazy. Look at this. It just goes on and on and on. And let me find some of the ones in Delaware. So if you're familiar, here's one. Clayton, several reports of trees down. Marshallton, multiple trees. Eastburn Heights, destroying part of a fence. Um, several reports of trees and wires down. Tree into a house on Redwood Avenue. Uh, several reports of downed trees and wires. Several reports of downed trees in area. So there were just tons of reports and tons of downed trees and such. This is the only thing I found from the Weather Service that when I even read this. This is something that I read, so I was aware of what, and it does. Once the precipitation we'll see strong air, cold air advection. That's with the main storm that came through. The main axis of moisture will be shifting offshore, and so the precipitation frame will become more showery and clear out. Low-level lapse rates steeping quickly. That means you sort of have this quick deepening of the storm of air just collapsing. Okay. And we should see a burst of some strong wind gusts with even modest mixing. And from the soundings and just using raw model output, become unstable and basically render any additional guidance gusts up to useless. So gusts were possible up to 50 miles per hour, and anticipate some tree damage and power outage issues related to the fact that the soils will be extremely wet. So the ground was just so soft. I mean, it didn't require a lot of, it just been so saturated, and it just lifted up those trees. So that's pretty much it, folks. In several ways it was a rough morning, a rough day, an active day of storms, and we all did our best. We all did our part to help out the situation, and we hope that those people that had the damage, they'll get their repairs done, and everything go back to the way it was. So I sorry, lost me for a second. So I appreciate all the reports and all the pictures and such like that. You're my spotters, so I need you out there to watch out for everybody. So, and watch out for me, be my eyes. So I appreciate you always, and I hope everything goes well this week, and I hope we don't have any surprise weather events like that. Like I said, I'll do something maybe on